Hey guys, Disclaimer Magic here, and you've probably been wondering why my channel hasn't covered the big thing that's coming out in MTG, which is of course Conspiracy. That's of course the new set coming out on August 26, 2016. Now, this is actually like Conspiracy 2, it's called Conspiracy Take the Crown. The last one came out sometime in 2014. That's kind of weird because I don't remember it coming out, and I know I've been playing for at least like 2.5 years. I don't know, maybe it came out the day before I started playing, who knows. I do recall using some M13 cards though, and I'm pretty sure that predates it. I am a little bit familiar with like special release weird game types that have modified rules though, because I've actually played Plane Chase. Now in case you didn't know, Plane Chase Anthology is coming out on November 25th, 2016. Plane Chase is pretty much the best thing ever, so I'm going to take a wild guess that Conspiracy is pretty cool too. I think whenever you add like a special thing on top of a game that you already like, it becomes even better most of the time, and if it became worse and everybody hated it, they probably wouldn't have printed it again. It sounds like this one, in the most basic sense, is playing musical chairs with the crown. One player gets to be the monarch at a time, and you gotta try and like take the crown from them, or kill them, or just whatever. So last man standing wins, I believe. Now this was designed for, as they put it, 3 to 5 players each, or as I like to put it, 4 players. And 4 players really is the magic amount for multiplayer, especially in like, Commander, which is like everybody's favorite. As soon as you go past that, you just don't know what to respond to, you don't know which spells to counter because you got so many opponents ahead of you, and people can like massively just team up to just demolish somebody, and it's not like their deck is, 5 times better than the other combined force of the other people. They're gonna lose if they get teamed on. But that's why they kind of added like a little meta thing to this. Now still, if you're out, you're out. If you run out of life points, that's it. But they got that Monarch thing going on, and honestly, I don't think anybody's too clear on the rules right now. We've kind of seen hints of it though. Now, there's a lot of positives and negatives to this. Like I said, I really like games with like special things added on top of it. Like you guys probably heard about the tournament I ran that had like, token gambling, sort of like everybody starts with 3 and then you bet 1, 2, or 3, and it was exactly the same as Yu-Gi-Oh! The series. Star Gauntlet format forever, baby. It was awesome. Also, it was a one-on-one, you pick your opponent, single games, no sideboards. It was fast-paced, kept it going, you could take a break whenever you want. It was the ideal tournament format, and adding the whole, how many counters do I have, or how many tokens do I have left, am I going to be in the top 3, adding that to the tournament was just so cool, because it was another thing to think about, and affected how you play, and who you play, and how quickly you play. So I think this will be cool. It is really complicated, though, because this is a draft set, so you need 8 people, preferably, and then you play with only, 4, which is kind of weird, but you could just go 8 to 4, no problem. But there are cards that you have to draft face up, so as soon as you pull it, and you're like, I'm drafting this one, you have to set it down and show everybody, and then they know what you're going for. That's just weird. Drafting is incredibly complicated, incredibly complex. I absolutely suck at draft, and then they had to go and make it even harder and add more thinking to it. And then somebody's sitting 10 feet away from you on the table. You have to look at what card they just flipped up, and then everybody wants to read it. And I think that was a disaster. That was such a stupid thing for them to do. Now, the other potential problem that I see is that people aren't, researching the crap out of these cards and memorizing them and all that, because it's just for draft. These cards are not legal in standard, and they're not legal in modern, unless it's a reprint of a card that already was. So I think the amount of, memorizing and card learning and mechanic memorizing and just all the other stuff that goes into like a normal set coming out, really not going to happen with Conspiracy. So people are going to be reading the cards forever. During a draft, if somebody has to read every single card out of the booster pack to figure out what it does, it's going to slow things down a little bit. Those are really the only 2 downsides that I see. The price is completely normal. It's $3.99 MSRP per booster, so, drafts probably cost, if your store is nice, $20. By the way, remember I mentioned Plane Chase and how amazing it is and fun and you should all play it? $149.99 MSRP. So, if you want to play it, just, sell your car. So it's kind of neat that this costs exactly the same as a normal draft, and then, if you like drafting, hey, why not? Except that with drafting, that's how some people get most of their cards for standard. Maybe they don't want to come up with $100-ish for a booster box and buy that all at once, so they draft, maybe win some extra packs if it's like a competitive event draft, and then they get the cards that they drafted to build decks with. I don't know what percentage of these cards are not legal in standard or modern, but I have a feeling it's pretty high. And the other thing is, you got to go through them one at a time and look them up to see if they're legal in standard or modern, or you have to have every card in all of MTG memorized. Now here's where it gets a little bit weird. Yeah, there's, the X Masters sets, so Modern Masters, Eternal Masters, whatever else. Pretty sure there's one called Vintage Masters, actually. Maybe they'll have Masters, that'll be cool. So anyway, those sets are 100% reprints because they're just cards that Wizards as a whole thinks need to be reprinted because the price is going up a little bit too high and the supply just isn't there. And people want to play, Modern, for example. So they print Modern Masters and they say, here's some more, Tarmogoyfs for you, which they totally underprinted. And Eternal Masters, I think they hit, Control P and Enter about 10 times, that's it. They didn't print any of that. But that doesn't mean that special sets and special releases and special anything else doesn't have those cards in there with the same exact purpose, and this is no exception. Birds of Paradise is one of the cards that hasn't been printed in a while, and holy cow, does it need to go down in price. It's been creeping and creeping and creeping, and everybody needs it. It's like the best ramp in green as far as a mana dork. Mostly because it's flying. I mean, it's just better than an Elvish Mystic. Oh, and did I mention it taps for any color? I mean, come on. It's just, so good. And I kid you not, they have printed it 14 times. That's right. 14 times, and there's still not enough Birds of Paradise to go around. That's probably because ever since Alpha, they haven't admitted that they should probably just print it as an uncommon so people could just have enough already. So, I mean, they put it in Conspiracy, and it's already floating at $6.99 pre-order price. Probably because they use the really cool artwork, the one that I like a lot better. And it's actually really useful in a draft because it's a flying blocker in case of emergency. You can maybe ramp it up, win the game with a flying, boosted strike. And, of course, it fixes colors. I mean, that's huge. If you're trying to play 2 colors or even 3 colors, you're going to need a Birds of Paradise to help you out most of the time. So anytime you pull that as your rare, it's pretty nice. So that was a nice, appropriate, draft-friendly but not OP card that they're reprinting. It's getting the supply out there. Great decision. But they weren't all gems, because a couple of the cards are basically functional reprints of cards that are either super turbo old, super turbo expensive, or they're both because they're on the reserve list. Recruiter of the Guard is practically identical to another card, but, I mean, they color swapped it and they changed one of the words, so it's pretty darn important it doesn't do the same thing, but that's as close as you can possibly get to a reprint, and Wizards said they're not going to do functional reprints of certain cards. Like, for example, the ones on the reserve list. The other problem with functional reprints is now you can have both of them in your deck. So, if there was a functional reprint in Standard of Willbreaker, oh my god, can you even imagine that? Instead of 4 in your hands, so you gotta scry and draw and scry and draw and basically ruin your entire deck just to get Willbreaker out, and then they probably just blow it up anyway. Well, now you've got 8 of them in your deck, so you will consistently pull it pretty much every game with just a little bit of scry and draw. So that's never good. I mean, look at Lightning Bolt and Rift Bolt. It's not good. And I know Sorcery Speed completely nukes Rift Bolt, but, it's still 3 damage to a creature or a player for 1. I don't care what speed it is, that's too much. But we've already been through that in another video, haven't we? And apparently a significant portion of my viewers can't do math. Now, there's one other problem with, functional reprint cards like that, because now all of a sudden, everybody wants them. There's a huge demand. The price is just going through the roof. If you pull a foil Berserk in your pack, you're going to draft it just to keep it. I mean, a foil Berserk would probably be worth $100. I don't care what the prize is for that draft, that's $100. And that's why you guys remember way back, a couple years ago, Tarmogoyf or Goyfgate, some extra huge draft tournament, some guy pulled a foil Tarmogoyf, and he's like, that's a lot. That was at a Modern Masters 2 draft, by the way, and he was thinking, oh my god, there's a foil frickin' Tarmogoyf, and there was a card he actually needed in that pack that he opened. But then he thought, yeah, but that's a frickin' foil Tarmogoyf. If I get that thing stamped, it's worth a fortune. And he did. 99% of MTG players said he did the right thing, because it's like opening part of the first prize winnings. I mean, I think he sold it for $7,000 or $8,000 or something. Then he donated half to a gamer charity, which is awesome. And his argument was, this hotel stay and the travel and all that, taking off work, that ain't free, all right? I'd love to win for the prestige, but I need money too. Prize money is great. And you don't need prize money if you pull the foil frickin' Tarmogoyf. And that's the problem. I mean, that's the problem with draft. You open it up and you're like, oh my god, a foil mythic. I have to pull this. It is not an option. Winning isn't everything when it comes to that much money, and it's not like pulling it disqualifies you from the tournament. It's not like it's an auto lose. It's a couple % disadvantage, basically. Well, if it doesn't fit in your deck or it doesn't match your colors. If it does fit in your deck, then, good for you. But what are they going to do? Make a draft set, a draft-heavy set like this one where it's designed for draft, and then not put any cards of value in it? I say in this case, yes, that is what they should have done. These cards are, in general, not legal in Modern or Standard, and a lot of the big cards are, vintage staples. Or from what I saw, there's a couple Legacy, I think. So since most people play Standard and Modern, just make the whole set suck. Just make up a whole bunch of cards, that reference the set itself and reference, whether or not you're the Monarch at the moment or changes the Monarch, something like that. And if it's supposed to be a draft set and you expect most players to not be able to use the cards afterwards, then do that. Don't start throwing $50 cards in there. So overall, all the problems with this being a draft set, all the problems with drafting, the whole flip up a card thing, the whole, oh my gosh, I just opened a $100 card thing, the fact that you have to read every single card and they're really complicated with a lot of tiny print. And then the fact that people know that most of the cards cannot be used outside of that one draft tournament. I think it's going to kind of kill the popularity. But I think the games and the gameplay themselves are going to be so outrageously fun that as long as you can get past all that stuff and that's not a big deal to you, it's going to be amazing. And I do kind of sit in that camp a little bit. You know me, I'm an online singles seller, so I like to open stuff, have it be worth money, and then liquidate it. But, I also like to play MTG, and I like to play for fun, and I like to win for fun, so, The artwork is amazing, the card designs are amazing, the mechanics are amazing, and it just looks like a complete riot. So, I would say as long as you can deal with all the bad stuff I've mentioned, then you might as well, play it. And hey, you might come out of it with a $50 or $100 card, who knows. Now, there's one last huge positive that I have to say about this set. It is designed for draft, the end, and it is perfect for draft. I mean, you are not going to find a more fair, balanced, thought out, good deck building opportunity set. If you look at, Eldritch Moon or even just Shadows, it was designed to be drafted, obviously. They have that in mind, when they make it, and they make the colors balance and the cost balance and all that. But they do, at the end of the day, still have to make a set that can be built into constructed. So you get these bomb mythics that just dominate, like Gisela, she's just unreal. Or Tireless Tracker, if you open them, you basically won the game. For this, they don't have to worry about what people do with the cards afterwards. It is 100% draft. So you got all this consistent color fixing. You got your, Evolving Wilds, your Birds of Paradise. Then you got some really quirky, cool cards that, cost a bit, but you might actually get them out because of the slowness of the actual, gameplay and the individual games. Like Hamletback Goliath, he's amazing. 100-handed one, everybody loves him. He can block 100 creatures. It's so funny. And you won't be left saying, oh man, this deck's dominating because there just is no scrying, there is no drawing, there is no color fixing. There's everything in here. It's exactly what you need to just sit down with a random pool of cards and build a deck. Although, obviously, drafting, so a little bit more selective than, just straight up limited. I would absolutely play this sealed, though. Just pick up 6 and just play it sealed. It's not supposed to be played that way at all, but I think that would be funny, too. You'd end up with some pretty wild crap, that's for sure. If you guys haven't seen the total list, I mean, Ultra's Reap, Divination, Voyaging Satyr, Explosive Veg, Kill Shot, Plummet, I mean, all the classic staples are. Even, just fun little trick cards like Shambling Goblin, they're in there. I mean, you got your tutors. Your deck's going to be weird because, it's draft, it's limited, but it's going to work as long as you're not a complete idiot. So I do intend to play a couple draft events if my LGS holds them. I can't imagine they wouldn't. That would be really weird. And I'll definitely report back how it goes. And I'll see you guys next video.